our economies. And we have to now concentrate at the political, at the economic diplomacy. The political diplomacy, yes, it is there. It will never die. But I think let's now put to say, how do our people come together? They come together by cooperating economically.
It is key that we continue expanding on our exports and imports from one another. The current figures are not very good.
Vice President Mpango also took the time to commend Zimbabwe for building the Museum of African Liberation, which he says will immortalize the true story of Africa.
We are very happy for the action that your government has taken, building the Museum of the African Liberation. We fully support that.
Relations between Zimbabwe and Tanzania have their roots in the liberation struggle, when Tanzania provided shelter and military support to Zimbabwe's freedom fighters, which culminated in the country's independence in 1980.
Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa says the government of Tanzania acknowledges the assistance given by the United States through the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS, PEPFAR, in supporting the fight against AIDS in this country. Here's a report by Henry Mabumo, read by Lulua Mohammed.
20th anniversary of the United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief that has brought together stakeholders and various government leaders. Speaking during the event, Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa says more than $6 billion have been given by the United States government in support of the fight against AIDS. The assistance has played a crucial role in achieving the goals of eradicating AIDS by 2030.
In 2003, when PEPFAR began its work here in Tanzania, there were fewer than 1,000 people living with HIV and antiretroviral treatment. Today, as we speak, PEPFAR supports more than 1.5 million people living with HIV on life-saving ARVs treatment.
The Deputy Minister for Health, Dr. Godwin Mollel, says after 20 years of the United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, it has facilitated grants amounting to more than $6 billion and enabled 1 million citizens to get anti-HIV drugs.
After 20 years with you guys doing a great job with your government, supporting us, more than $6.6 billion US. It's a tremendous amount of money. Now we are talking about 1.426 million people taking antiretrovirus. I say thank you very much on behalf of the Minister of Health. Thank you very much.
United States, through the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, Robert Rains explains the achievements made, which includes reducing AIDS-related deaths by 80% from 110,000 deaths in 2003 to 29,000 in 2021.
These people living with HIV can now live healthy, fulfilling lives. AIDS-related deaths have decreased by almost 80%. With 100,000 deaths in 2003 compared to 29,000 deaths in 2021. This is a huge achievement, and it could not have happened without this partnership that we've been speaking of. The true accomplishments, however, transcend the milestones.
The National Council of People Living with HIV, NACOFA, Policy Director Agnes Goda praises the efforts taken by REPFAR and the government in assuring the availability of drugs to fight the HIV virus.
Of ART to children living with HIV, and currently they are getting syrup, which is very tasty and flavored. Before it was not possible. There is also success in availability of Center of Cancer Screening, Diagnosis and Treatment. All these are achievements of PEPFAR support.
Now let's take a look at the energy sector, where we're told Minister for Energy January Makamba says the government plans to improve the national electricity transmission grid to improve the transmission and distribution of electricity in the country and alleviate any power outages. He made the remark during parliamentary session in Dodoma while responding to the recommendations made by a Parliamentary Standing Committee for Energy and Minerals. In their report, the committee recommended that improving the national grid will ensure the nation has reliable energy. Here's a report by Mwazani Kiembe, read by Apasia Ringo.
During the parliamentary session, various discussions are going on, and today the recommendations by Parliamentary Standing Committee on AIDS and Narcotics and the statement of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Energy and Minerals were presented.
There are several challenges facing the Tanzania HIV Impact Survey program, and one of those is that it doesn't identify the children under the age of 15 years.
The government will establish the program that aims at reducing the transmission of HIV infections from the mother to the child, especially those who are under 18 years.
We have completed the 4th strategy of fighting against AIDS. We have developed the 5th strategy, and in this strategy, we will not only be educating for testing for HIV/AIDS, but also monitoring those who are absconding medication adherence.
The debate focused more on the second report on energy and mineral issues.
If we had completed the Mwalimu Nyerere project as it was agreed, we would be unable to generate electricity from the Selu Dam to send it to the station. Deputy Speaker, the transmission line has reached 83%, but the Chalinze Electrolysis Center has reached 47%.
The minister got the chance to contribute to the committee's recommendations.
We have concrete plans to dismantle the entire national grid and fix it due to the challenge of deteriorated infrastructure. Our transportation and electricity supply infrastructure were not adequate and has not been modified for a long time. We are counting on signing a project called the Grid Imara, which involves 26 projects worth 1 trillion shillings to stabilize our national grid.
In other news, the Minister for Works and Transport, Professor Makame Mbarawa, has instructed Airports Authority in the country to design their operations more efficiently so as to attract more customers to use air transportation. He was launching new Tanzania Airports Authority TAA logo, where he urges the management to improve their services and the infrastructure.
Katika hafla hii pamoja na kuzindua nembo mpya TAA,
I believe that the new logo reflects the efficiency and performance of the institution and will increase productivity on the aviation sector. I congratulate the Executive Director and all the workers in this institution for accomplishing your responsibilities accordingly, as well as coordinating, managing, supervising, and ensuring development of the airports. The 6th-term government has continued to put efforts in improving the aviation sector for the growth of our country's economy, and that has made the number of the passengers and airplane routes to rise. From July to December 2021, airplane routes increased for about 30%, while the number of passengers has increased up to 40%. Our main responsibility is to ensure that when passengers arrive in the country, they receive excellent services that meet international standards. Most of the time, the government has been allocating sufficient funds for the improvement of the airport's infrastructures and safety.
Usimamizi, uendeshaji na uendelezaji wa viwanja vya ndege hapa Tanzania.
We provide services considering international standards in order to create a good image of the country. Various strategies have been put in place, including the change of the logo that will attract and adapt to the current market.
Professor Mbarawa also hands over 4 cars out of 16 as part of improving services at airports. Professor Mbarawa has also officiated the VIP Terminal 2 building at the Julius Nyerere Airport in Dar es Salaam. The major improvements that have been done in the building include construction of a modern restaurant and installation of an advanced payment system. The UN Resident Coordinator, Zlatan Milicic, says media plays a crucial role in ensuring the country meets the global sustainable development goals and runs effective and peaceful elections. Emmanuel Samo reports.
The UN Residence Coordinator Zlatan Milicic made the remarks after a meeting involving editors, journalists and United Nations, whereby he insisted the journalists should be empowered on reporting election issues and ensure all groups are covered to foster development in the society.
The issue of elections came up and importance to support the Tanzania Editors Forum as they are approaching this very important milestone in Tanzania. We have also discussed the importance of freedom of expression, free media, and the United Nations support for those values. The United Nations also was very interested to hear from the Tanzania editors, what could be the areas where they need support. I believe that we are closer today in understanding each other, in trying to follow the priorities and working better together in pursuit of the development for people of Tanzania and this country.
This was really a good opportunity, and it's happening more than 2 years after, because of COVID, we could not have it in between. So we are really grateful that eventually we had this opportunity to meet with the editors and to have this engagement, which was very, very eye-opening and will help us to become more strategic in the implementation of our activities in Tanzania.
The chairman of the Tanzania Editors Forum, Mr. Deodatus Balile, says the Tanzania Editors Forum will collaborate with different institutions and political parties to ensure the journalists report issues professionally.
We said we need to have a sort of capacity building for editors and reporters, and Tanzania Editors Forum is led to collaborate with the international organizations, local organizations, the government, political parties, both ruling and opposition parties, to make sure that we train our journalists, we train our editors to have the required skills, so that when we go to the 2024-2025 general elections, our reportage will be of quality to the level that no one will complain after the elections.
On the other hand, Mr. Milicic explains 4 focus areas that are to be achieved by the United Nations as an Agenda 2030, and one of the participants who participated in the meetings expresses his delight on attending the meeting and hopes will bring positive outcome to the nations at large.
In Tanzania, we have identified 4 outcomes that focusing on people, prosperity, planet, and enabling environment towards and against the objectives of the national development plans and sustainable development goals.
Vyombo vya habari bado havijapata yale mafunzo ambayo yanaweza yakawajengea uwezo.
The journalists in the media houses have no enough training in reporting political issues, so having this meeting, it will help them in achieving attended goals.
More than 50 editors from various media houses in Tanzania, mainland and Zanzibar participated in the meeting, whereby different numerous agendas were presented. Emmanuel Samuel, TBC News.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for that report. Moving on, Simiyu Regional Commissioner Dr. Yahya Nawanda assures residents of Busega, Bariadi and Itilima districts of reliable water supply from Lake Victoria through a program supported by Climate Change Project. The project is being implemented by the Tanzanian government, and for the first phase, the project will cost more than 444 billion shillings. Here's a report by Pascal Michael, read by Lulua Mohammed.
Dr. Nawanda made the remarks during celebrations of the 46th anniversary of CCM, which were held at primary school grounds in Ngale, Itilima district, and was attended by Simiyu residents. He says climate change project initiated will increase the availability of water.
Mheshimiwa Rais ametuletea zaidi ya bilioni 440.
You have spoken the issue of water. The President has allocated more than 440 billion shillings for providing water to Busega, Bariadi, Itilima for the first phase, as well as villages that had water before.
Njalu Silanga, who is the Member of Parliament for Itilima constituency, thanks the National CCM Chairman, President Samia Suluhu Hassan, for the funds of various projects.
In health sector, we have received 800 million shillings to complete the constructions of the district hospital, and the work is ongoing. On the water projects, these areas had water challenges, as well as Nangali village. I want to assure you, in front of the people and honorable councillors, we have brought you 192 million for a deep well built by the road division.
Some CCM members gave a word of the CCM manifesto.
We must start ideological classes. Young people should study to understand CCM's ideologies. Let us teach them where this country came from, where it is, and where it is going. If an individual graduates, he or she will be given a CCM identity card.
When you speak of CCM in Africa and the world in general, you speak of a liberating and a patriotic part that opposes tribalism in Tanzania.
Since 1981, the entire island of Kilwa Kisiwani has been designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, along with the nearby ruins of Songo Mnara. Also, the area is one of the 7 World Heritage Sites located in Tanzania. Now, let's take a look.
Kilwa Kisiwani is an island, national historical site, and hamlet community located in the township of Kilwa Masoko, Kilwa district in Lindi region, southern part of Tanzania. Kilwa Kisiwani is the largest of the 9 hamlets in Kilwa Masoko and is also the least populated hamlet in the township with less than 1,000 residents. At its peak, Kilwa hosted over 10,000 inhabitants in the Middle Ages. Since 1981, the entire island of Kilwa Kisiwani has been designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site along with the nearby ruins of Songo Mnara. Despite its significant historic reputation, Kilwa Kisiwani is still home to a small and resilient community of native residents that have inhabited the island for centuries. Kilwa Kisiwani is one of the 7 World Heritage Sites located in Tanzania. Kilwa Kisiwani Island lies exactly at 9 degrees south of the equator. The island is 23 kilometers in circumference and the total land area is 12 kilometers squared. On the west part of the island is the Mavuji River estuary, and on the south part of the island lies the Sagarungu Sound, and to the east lies the Indian Ocean. The island is located with the Kilwa Masoko Township Authority. The main economic activities on the island are cultural tourism, fishing, and subsistence agriculture. Economic growth is limited due to limited accessibility to the island. The island has no rivers and the main source for water is wells. Many of the island's freshwater wells have been used for over a millennium. The island is served by small boats to and from the port at Kilwa Masoko. The island's only electricity is solar-based and low capacity. There are no roads on the island, thus most transport is on foot or motorcycle. Additionally, the site is a registered National Historic Site. Welcome to Tanzania. Welcome to Kilwa Kisiwani.
Welcome to Kilwa Kisiwani. Welcome to Tanzania. And that item concludes Local News Tonight. International news up next. Now let's dive deep into international news with Apasia Ringo.
The leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis, has arrived in South Sudan for a 3-day visit after he completed his 3-day visit in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the airport in the capital city, Juba, the Pope has been welcomed by South Sudan President Salva Kiir and other senior government officials, as well as Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who is accompanying the Pope to South Sudan. Majority of South Sudan people hoping that the Pope Francis' historic visit is to bring hope and to encourage leaders to find a lasting peace in South Sudan after centuries of division caused by ongoing civil wars. They say they pray that this visit will be a catalyst for the leaders of South Sudan to focus on what unites them and not what divides them, for they are all loved equally in the eyes of the Lord. Some added by saying that the Pope's trip in South Sudan comes at a time when the country is suffering severe political instability and people facing crushing poverty and famine, whereby more than 400 people are thought to have died as a result of the conflict. Pope Francis has wanted to visit the predominantly Christian country for years, but each time planning for a trip began, it had to be postponed because of instability on the ground and later personal health issues. United States Republicans member of Congress have removed progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar from the House Foreign Affairs Committee over her past criticism of Israel, drawing rebuke and accusations of bigotry from Democrats. Republican lawmakers argue that Omar engaged in anti-Semitic and anti-Israel rhetoric that disqualified her from serving on the foreign policy panel. But Democrat members of Congress says Ilhan Omar was targeted because of her identity. Ilhan is a refugee from Somalia and the third Muslim woman in the U.S. Congress voted of Foreign Affairs Committee.
There is this idea that you are a suspect if you are an immigrant, or if you are from certain parts of the world, or a certain skin tone, or a Muslim. It is no accident that members of the Republican Party accuse the first Black President Barack Obama of being a secret.
She vowed to continue to speak up for those suffering from unjust wars, atrocities, ethnic cleansing, occupation, or displacement. The White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters that the removal of Omar from the committee, a political stunt and a disservice to the American people, and the Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is a highly respected member of Congress. Minister of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation in Namibia, Dr. Itakanji Murangi, says technical and vocational education and training has the potential to lower the unemployment rate and alleviate poverty. The minister says attempts to improve challenges faced by TVET programs may dwindle if the negative perception towards TVET held by youth, parents and community does not change. Dr. Kanji Murangi's sentiments are contained in the final report of the second World Skills Africa competition, which was held in Swakopmund last year. The aim of the competition was to break the perception that TVET should be the last option. Instead, it should be a choice and an interest for youth, particularly those fresh out of school. She further noted that the Namibia successful hosting of the Global Skills Competition will further generate interest and traction in the country's journey to empower the youth, not only from Namibia, but Africa. Governor of the hosting region, Neville Andre, in the report says that the skills competition has enabled the region to appreciate the importance of TVET as it produces skilled and competent workforce, which is so desperately needed for economic and industrial development. Andre emphasized that an agile and industry-relevant TVET sector is of importance for enhanced productivity and therefore calls for collective reform. More than 70 participants from across Africa descended to the coastal town of Swakopmund last year to take part in a TVET skills competition.
On that note, we are ending our news bulletin for tonight. Thank you very much for sticking to the very end. I am Faida Ngaga. Have a lovely night.